Walls from the Family Foundation, and it is another fabulous Family Foundation Friday because we got a lot to cover. David, welcome, and I look forward to this.
Greg, good to be with you.
You know, you mentioned something to me. We have a mutual friend that we both respect quite a bit, and that's Pastor Donovan Stewart in the Mission Church. And I know you've had some connections with him lately that I think would be good to give a shout out to him.
Yeah, no, appreciate Greg you introducing me to him, and what a just a fabulous church. Loves the Lord, on fire for the Lord, and I was thankful to get to speak there this past Sunday for a few minutes in both services, share a little bit about our ministry, share a legislative update.
Yeah.
Pastor Donovan actually joined us up at the Capitol last week as a part of our Church Ambassador Network that we're doing to minister and pray with legislators. So thankful for that ministry and for him joining us. And, it reminded me, I joked, it's not really a joke, it's the truth. It's kind of been my second church home here in Lexington. My son and I are part of the Trail Life troop that got started there at the Mission Church about a year ago.
Right.
So just so thankful to the Lord for the Mission Church and just so many other churches that partner with our ministries and are seeking to proclaim the gospel and honor Him by encouraging their folks to stay engaged with what's going on.
Donovan gets it when the word says, help prepare your flock for, equip them for the ministry, and to be salt and light.
Absolutely.
Which is what we're called to be. And that doesn't mean just within the walls or just a little network that we're in.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Government, media, education, we're called to be that. And I know that's what Family Foundation stands for. So
that's
exactly
what I said.
Actually,
Greg,
really?
That's what I started
off.
The
Holy Spirit.
I said one of the biggest lies that Satan wants us to believe is that we're supposed to keep our faith within the walls of this church. But God is Lord over every area.
And listeners, believe me, we did not talk about that. That's got to be the Holy Spirit. And I love that. Well, let's jump in then, because there's a lot going on with the General Assembly. We're wrapping up week 8 today. And so we're a little over halfway through, and it's heating up. There's a lot of things going on. So there's several bills I know you want to discuss. So let's start with, you mentioned RFRA, which is Religious Freedom Restoration Act, right? There's a bill by Representative Steve Rawlings.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Yeah, so a very important religious liberty bill, and that's House Bill 47, and that would update Kentucky's existing RFRA, Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And these are very important religious liberty bills. There was one passed at the federal level many years ago, actually, when religious freedom used to be a completely bipartisan issue.
Right.
And President Clinton signed that into law.
Yes, in the 90s.
And since that time, there's been, I think at least 25 states that have state versions of Religious Freedom Restoration Acts. But Kentucky's is really in need of strengthening and clarifying in some key aspects. There's been some cases where religious liberty has been infringed of Kentuckians, and they haven't had a remedy to that. And then also what this bill would do would clarify and really define that when it says government can't infringe upon religious liberty, that means government at all levels. So if we're talking about local government, administrative regulations in a variety of ways. So it really just clarifies. But very, very important, and really excited that bill had a hearing this week in the House Judiciary Committee and actually passed out of that committee overwhelmingly this week. And so I'm just so thankful for Representative Rawlings and his faithful leadership on that issue. Greg, he carried that bill last session. It passed out of that same committee last year at the very end of the session. Didn't really have an opportunity to move forward. Now there's time for it to move forward, and we're encouraging everyone to visit our website at KentuckyFamily.org, go to our Take Action page, and send an encouraging note to encourage your legislators to stand for religious freedom. We have a real opportunity to get this done this session.
And not only their legislators, their district, but copy that to leaders.
Absolutely.
Copy that to leaders. You can do that on there at KentuckyFamily.org, Take Action, or you can call the legislative hotline and do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Both those, we would love for you to go to the website, of course, but if you want to do it on the phone, that's 800-372-7181, and just express that we want our religious freedoms intact and strengthened. That's what we're talking about there. Now, I know there's one that Michael Johnson, good friend of ours. I worked with him for a while.
Yeah.
He's your policy director here at Family Foundation. He had an article on the one, I believe it's 442.
Yeah.
Representative James Tipton. And what did that deal with?
Yeah, so thankful for Kentucky Today. Got to give them a little plug. That is the news arm of the Kentucky Baptist Convention, but they do a great job of covering state issues. And a lot of times they'll run editorials, and they've got reporters that do a great job of covering things happening at the state level. So thankful for them.
Yeah.
And they ran an editorial that Michael wrote, highlighting a really important issue that really just came to our attention, Greg, leading up to the session. And a lot of that is thanks to John Razor on our team, who is also a pastor.
Yes.
And has been involved in sports ministry. And he started being reached out to. The genesis of this was he was being reached out to with some uncertainty about how some of the recent changes on sales tax impacted churches that have sports ministry, about whether they should be having to charge sales tax on those things. And so we did a little further due diligence, talk with some legislators, and really what became clear was because of some pre-existing law, and then with some of the tax changes that just happened, unfortunately, as we sit here right now, churches and other nonprofit and other ministries really are required to be collecting sales tax, to register with the state, and to be collecting sales tax not just on sports programs and other ministries, but depending on how they handle it, potentially even on things like charging for Wednesday night dinners, charging for resources that are being sold at the church for Bible studies, which might impact. I know you've got a great book that's used as a resource.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking, I have to file a report every quarter that says that, because most of mine are sold online, but that says that you have to show how it was collected, and that Amazon, because mine's on Amazon. I don't know. I hate to admit that, but it is. But anyway, but
everything's on Amazon,
right? Exactly. But I have to report that and say that they are filing and sending in the taxes on that. So it'd be great if we didn't have to do that.
Right. And so look, we've had, and this is what Michael does a great job of laying out in this editorial at Kentucky Today, is look, we've long understood that recognizing that churches should be tax exempt because of the benefit that they offer to society in so many ways. Right. And so, and I think a lot of this is just some unintended consequences and some things being brought to light. But so thankfully, House Bill 442 by Representative James Tipton has been filed to clarify that we don't want churches and other ministries to have to become tax collectors.
Little IRSs, right?
And I'm so thankful for so many pastors that have. They're speaking out on this, and Michael talked with, I know, our good friend, Pastor Josh Schmidt up in Burlington Baptist, and others. They had shared a little insight that was in this editorial talking about, look, they're sports ministries, a lot of times upward. These are not revenue programs. These are ministries, and a lot of times the church is already subsidizing the cost. So if they're having to collect tax, that's not necessarily going to be passed along. That's just going to further eat at the dollars that the church is using to try to do ministry.
Well, and I know you said this, David. I can't help but think, I don't see it, but I can't help but think, because I know they've been trying for years to remove the tax-exempt status from churches. And I don't know that this connects or not, but we know that that's an underlying thing that they've been trying to do.
Right.
And so it'd be good to do the due diligence and make sure we're covered on all these things.
And that's part of our point. Look, we think the principle that, that's well established, that, that churches are tax-exempt on their property taxes, they should apply similarly on sales tax as well.
Exactly.
And so that's what that bill would do. But look, it's really important. This is an issue that a lot of folks are just kind of finding out about and getting up to speed on. So I encourage folks to engage with us at KentuckyFamily.org, to read the editorial and learn more about the issue. But more than that, particularly if your church may have a sports ministry, reach out to your pastor, make sure they're aware. We're so thankful for so many that have been reaching out to legislators. The bill has been jumping in the amount of co-sponsors in the last few days.
That means they're hearing some things.
I'm optimistic that this is going to be an issue that can be addressed this session.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And you mentioned a second article that Kentucky Today.
Right.
Toot your horn, David.
I'm so thankful
it was good.
that we have a platform that's willing
exactly
to
right.
share Christian perspectives on issues, because as we know,
Beyond
many
the
times
church
the
walls.
mainstream media is not as willing sometimes to,
Right.
to share
Right.
some of these perspectives. So thankful for
At
Kentucky
least with
today.
objectivity.
That's right. So I wrote an editorial that's also just been published on Kentucky Today, talking about the need for stronger parental rights protections.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about this. A lot of this circles around House Bill 304 that Representative Shane Baker filed. But what I do in that piece is I remind the readers that, look, the General Assembly took courageous stand to protect parental rights last session. And a lot of that had to do with protecting parental rights in our schools. But what we've seen since then is our two major school districts, Fayette County here, Jefferson County, probably others, are essentially just thumbing their nose at the law.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's been some other instances. You and I have visited about some of the situation that happened in Anderson County,
right.
some other ways in which we've seen, unfortunately, parents not being given the information or things happening behind parents' backs in our schools. And so this is really just a call to say, look, the General Assembly acted courageously last session. It's time for them to courageously act again, so that the parental rights protections that we have in law are not just paper.
Yeah.
They're not just empty words.
Filling in some of those gaps.
The gaps
where these school districts have been abusing.
Right. And then to ensure that if a right of a parent is being violated, that the parent or the family has an opportunity to have that enforced.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
so the enforcement mechanism is really, really important.
Yeah.
And so, again, thankful for Kentucky Today publishing that piece. And again, folks can go to our website and learn more about all of these bills at kentuckyfamily.org. But we really are, if we're not already, we're in crunch time.
Yes. Yeah. We're coming down the stretch.
We're coming down the stretch.
Yeah.
And what an opportune time to take a moment and be salt and light that you've been called to be by just simply reaching out to your House and Senate members.
Exactly, and standing on that truth. And that's what we hope you'll see and do. Again, KentuckyFamily.org, go to the Take Action tab, and you can see these and many others.
Yeah.
And then read through them and share it with others. Share it with others so they might jump in and join us as well. I know you mentioned last week that part of this also was the Citizen was in such high demand.
Yeah.
Your printed version.
Yeah.
How'd that turn out? You got some more printed?
We've got a few more bundles here left at the office. I know we got some folks coming to pick up some more tomorrow. So we're really thankful for, I think well over 100,000 copies that have been distributed. And so, this is when folks share their Citizen. Sometimes we have folks, what difference does it make? Look, as we've said, a lot of the information that you and I are talking about here, are you hearing this on your nightly news, Greg?
No.
And
that's by design, David. We know that.
Right. These are important issues. We're talking about religious freedom, our first freedom.
Yes.
We're talking about, a tax issue that could impact every church in Kentucky.
Parental rights.
Again, not tooting our own horn. We're just saying this is important information. And so when you engage sharing a Citizen, sharing this podcast, investing, engaging in our ministries, you're helping equip the body of Christ here in Kentucky.
Yeah. So go to the KentuckyFamily.org, take action, other things there. The legislative hotline is 800-372-7181. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord. Make it a great day, and God bless in the love and lordship of Christ. Stay tuned at 1245 for my good friend Greg Horn and Hope is here. I'm Greg Williams with co-host David Walls, and you're listening